Thanksgiving hangover, maybe, for the Phoenix Suns. Rough start as they take on the Detroit Pistons at home the day after Thanksgiving, but ultimately come out, win by 6 points over those pesky Pistons, 108-102. Matthew, here we are once again, coming to you live from Amarillo, Texas. Although you're in, I think, Bushland, land of the Bush. Where you at?
Yeah, I think it's Bushland. Yeah, it's like right outside Amarillo.
You look super awake.
I'm so tired.
You're so
yeah. Yeah, this is sorry, Jamsters. Super tired now. I think we're both
Hey,
pretty tired.
we're pretty beat up, and I know that tomorrow I am actually driving back to Phoenix, so that'll be a nice little 12-hour road trip. So we'll see how much length we get out of this podcast. But a very nice win for the Phoenix Suns. They're now 12-6 on the season, the first overall seed in the Western Conference. And despite it being Friday, shout out to Metal Mike. One of our loyal Jamsters, he was tweeting during the game and pointed out that the Suns have lost their last 4 games on Friday. They are now 2-5 on the season on Fridays, Matthew.
It's Thursday, right?
No,
That's why they're all
it's Friday.
Thursday. Yeah, no, but it leads into Friday, so they're hungover, right?
Yeah, typically they're hungover, and guess what? I guess they had enough turkey, and they were hanging out with some fans. We saw a campaign hold a nice little event yesterday, so I think that because it was Thanksgiving and they were out doing charity work, they weren't out there actually getting shit slammed on a Thursday, and therefore they were not hungover, and they were able to outlast the Pistons tonight.
Yeah, and I think Booker was talking about Wednesday night he gets drunk or something, and then during Thanksgiving, that's when he's actually hungover. So he should have been fine tonight, but he did look a little bit hungover still tonight.
Yeah, he did,
Little
especially
weird
from the free throw line.
Yeah, just a weird game by him, man.
The whole team was kind of weird, especially in that first half. So plenty to talk about on this edition of the Suns Jam Session podcast. If you're joining us live directly after the game, of course, thank you. And hit thumbs up if you're on YouTube. If you're listening to the pod at another time, hey, enjoy your weekend. Hope you're having a fun time out there. Enjoy that 70 degrees in Phoenix. It's currently like 35 degrees in Amarillo, and it's raining outside, and I hope it stops raining because I have to put a bunch of shit in the back of my truck. And I don't want to have to go out there at like 6 a.m. and put a tarp over that shit, Matthew.
Yeah, good luck, man. I'll be sleeping in.
Yeah, fuck off. You can fuck right off. It's funny because driving around here in Texas, there's one thing that I noticed. Texas observations by John. This is Chevy and GMC country. Like everyone out here either has a Chevy truck or a GMC truck. You see a couple Fords. I've seen a couple Dodge Rams. Or they're not even Dodge Rams, they're Rams now, but like I drive a Ram. And so I noticed this kind of thing. And it's funny because not only do they drive like the GMC, 1500, 2500, but everybody drives like the Texas edition. You know what I mean? Or the Longhorn edition. Like, they live in Texas. It's like living in Arizona and buying like that Hyundai Tucson because you love Arizona. And like, I don't know if I could ever do it.
Yeah, Texas should be its own country. It's a place where they're very Texas, and that's all they care about. And you don't really see a whole lot of Mazdas out here. Ever. I think I saw my car once, but other than that, that's the only time I've seen it.
Fabio in the chat says no horses. I'll tell you what, I didn't see a ton of horses. I've seen a shit ton of cows, man.
Yeah, no, there's horses right in front of me. A lot of people own horses where I'm at, so you see them around. Nice, beautiful, big behind horses.
big ass horses. Well, when we drove to Bovina, Texas today, and on the way there, you run into Hereford, Texas. It's like the cattle capital of the world or something. So I mean, there's just like, and it smells like just beef and feed and shit.
You don't like that smell?
It's okay. It reminds me of like winter grass. Like when I plant my winter grass at home,
Yeah.
like cow manure, and the seasons there are changing. So I liked it.
Yeah, it's not bad, dude. I'm actually used to it by now. So
yeah, well,
who's Pat Betch? It's Pat Beverly. I just put Pat Betch like you're a bitch, stupid ass batch.
Yeah, what a batch.
Patrick
Betch. Yeah, so for those of you listening, obviously we have our names up on the live feed, and Matthew still has his as Pat Betch after Pat Bev in the last game against the Lakers. So we've been talking way too long about Texas. So let me drink a Lone Star beer again, the national beer of Texas. Pop them if you got them, Matthew. I need you to pop something because you look tired. But let's pop and talk about the 12th win for your Phoenix Suns. It was a 108-102 victory for your Phoenix Suns. Despite shooting really bad in the first half from beyond the arc, they ended up shooting 7 of 29, but I think they were 3 for 17, something like that, from beyond the arc in the first half. But that brings me to my first question.
Matthew, I got to ask.
Matthew, I got to ask. How was your Thanksgiving, man?
Oh, it was good. I feel like, well, since we've been here in Texas, we've been eating nonstop.
Yes.
Like it's insane. It's like insanely good food. It's been nonstop, so I haven't been hungry at all. But Thanksgiving actually itself, it was good, man. It was delicious food, and it went by super quick, man. How did you feel about it?
Yeah, it's ever since we showed up here, there's 2 words that I have not said, and that's I'm hungry. Because we keep going over to your aunt's house and they just keep feeding us food and food. They've got meals planned out. We're having deer tacos that had coconut and raisin options. We had barbecue tonight. We obviously had Thanksgiving yesterday. But the one thing that I noticed on Thanksgiving was the fact that, your family's real cordial. They're real nice, like Matthew, and they don't get into fights. So I figured that if I'm not going to get in fight with family, because you get around my family, they drink a lot, they argue. They're loud. They know everything. You know nothing. And that's what I'm used to. So being around the Lissy family, the Denny family, being around them and having them really be nice and cordial was kind of tough for me. So what I chose to do on Thanksgiving was to spend the majority of it on Twitter just arguing with other podcasts about one subject alone. So I think I've kind of come to the conclusion that, whoa, look at that graphic. Suns 1008, Pistons 102. Let me.
It should have been that.
It should have been
1,108.
It should have been. But I guess like we've become the Aiton hater podcast. But I like to think that we're realists. Take into account all the factors. Most importantly, his effort relative to his contract. So for those of you who follow me on Twitter at Darth Voida, I was going back and forth with Dervish of Whirl from the Fan of the Flames podcast, with the Aussie Suns fans podcast. So, guys that I love going back and forth with. And obviously Aiton is one of those subjects that everybody kind of has their opinion on. And we've stated numerous times on this podcast, the fact that, we're just kind of, I like to think that I'm kind of a realist when it comes to DA. There's challenges that he has when it comes to touches, right? And that's something that Gavin from the Aussie Suns fans podcast brought up, is really the fact that, he's somebody who, if you look at his total touches, he's like 25th in the league when it comes to centers. And I think the thing that both you and I agree on, and, you can tell me if I'm wrong, I feel like a lot of it is effort. It's the lack or lack thereof when it comes to DA. And you see it when he's on the weak side and he's not fighting through screens, or he's not trying to get rebounds and offensive rebounds. I mean, you can create your own touches if you get offensive rebounds, things of that nature. And I get it. That's a guard-centric offense. I get it. This is a team that's successful with their offense and has been. And I respect the fact that he plays within the confines of this offense. I love all these things about DA. But what we would like to see are things like what we saw tonight from DeAndre Ayton. A very engaged DA. He went and he put forth his season high as scoring 28 points. He grabbed 12 rebounds, 11 of 13 from the field. He was engaged the entire time. So it was kind of fun going back and forth with, Gavin and Boyd from the Aussie Suns fans and Dervish of Whirl, Paul from the Fanning the Flames podcast. If you guys get a chance, give them a listen, because you want to hear all sides of the point of view. You want to have a holistic understanding of the argument. And I guess that, I fall on that side. It's like I respect and I appreciate DA, but I always want more from him. And I think that he can perform better. And you saw that tonight. So, of course, I go and I talk some shit and he goes forth and dominates. And I'm glad that he did, Matthew.
Yeah, he put himself in position tonight. That was like just the only thing, really. He made it easy on Campaign. What did Campaign at like 10 assists by the fourth quarter? Like something crazy like that. Like, DA really did a good job on the pick and roll, making himself available. That's one thing that's always like kind of hard for him. I feel like that we kind of get on him for is like, hey, make yourself available, because his game really has to start at some point towards the rim. It's not like he can't be out too far, so he always has to be very, very close to really get his shots off. Otherwise, he can shoot the jump shot, of course. But if he's covered, he doesn't really have any moves to get to the rim. So tonight, like, he made himself available where he was rolling the right way. He was falling behind just the right amount of spacing. So it made it easy for Cameron Payne to find him. There were times towards the end of the game where he still didn't find himself available, but I feel like he didn't put in the effort. But the majority of the time, though, he did, and that's all he really needs to do, especially against a Pistons team like this, where they're just so small and they're such a terrible team. They have so many injuries right now. It should be easy, and the game he had tonight was expected, and it happened. Usually, we go into these games, we expect it. It doesn't happen. So good on DA for that. I still want to see it though, where it's game after game, game after game, game after game. Like, I love this effort, the what he puts forward. But this just has to be this just has to happen all the time. That's one thing that kind of frustrates us or frustrates me is, like, you know what, he can get the ball over the perimeter or something, but he doesn't have any moves. He doesn't have a way to get to the rim. So those are things I thought he might work on the offseason, but he hasn't really changed at all offensively that I've seen so far. So he just needs to make it easy on the point guards to find him. And that's what he did tonight. And if he can do that, then his offense will be easy because he's so automatic. His efficiency is through the roof. So it doesn't have to be too complicated. And sometimes I feel like he kind of makes it more complicated than it has to be. I still don't believe the side where they don't give him the ball, like they don't know how to give him the ball, because that's
Albert H
I've
in the
never seen
chat
this.
says
I've never
it's
seen
also
this.
the lack of guards looking to feed him. To your point.
Yeah. Well, what does that even mean? What do you mean? It's also the lack of guards looking to feed him, like Cameron Payne, or
yeah, like, one of the reasons he doesn't score a ton of points is because the guards aren't feeding him.
yeah. I mean, I feel like they kind of want to, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't you want to feed a guy like DA? Like, I don't understand. So, yeah. I mean, Cameron Payne, it was never really his game to do that, but he's kind of evolved that way. I mean, if you have Washington Jr. out there, he's not going to do it. You already saw him tonight trying to make some plays, and it did not look good. So I think the thing is with DA, just make it easy on the point guards, man. You can be available, just do it. And you did tonight, man. But I just want to see it. I don't want it to be a thing where it's like we talk shit or we talk stuff and he comes back and has a huge game and we have to be like, oh, see, there it is. No, I want to see it for a month or two, just straight consistency.
Well, that's my thing, and I agree with you there. Because again, like, my one thing, that I said is, he doesn't care to make himself available, and that's what it looks like sometimes. And you did see it around the back end of the game where he didn't get back on defense one play, and he did it a couple times. But for the most part in this game, he was aggressive, and I understand that numerous players don't do it, and we have a microscope on DA because he's our number one pick, because he's our max center, because we have high expectations for him. And my one thing coming into this game, and the argument that I've made, is we haven't had a bunch of DA games. Guess what we got tonight? We got a DA game, 28-12. Like, let's go. Like, that's what we need to see more of. And when I see it more consistently, that's when I'll call it like I see it. I'm just calling it like I see it. It's like I'm actively out there trying to, pick apart DA. I want him to be successful because it makes this team successful. And he's been successful despite the fact that this team hasn't been, quote unquote, feeding him. He hasn't been making himself available to those players, because you saw it tonight. Cameron Payne took a couple gambles. There was one play where he did not have good positioning. He was underneath the rim on the opposite side, and Cameron Payne threw it over the defender because the defender was small enough. Too often he's doing that. There was one play where he's on the weak side. That he sets a pick and roll. He rolls. Mikal doesn't give him the ball. He's on the weak side. And then he just stands there. Mikal's like looking, trying to get him the ball. And then Mikal turns it over and DA starts clapping his hands at him. So, like, I like to see that he was engaged in that moment. And that's what's fun to watch, is when you see a DA that's engaged. He was hitting his jumpers, looked fantastic. He had 2 monster jams. Like, those were, everyone who's like a DA fan got wet in that moment. There's like, oh, DA. And then, the one thing I think about, Matthew, and we talked about this a little bit on last pod, but do you think the DA heard Chuck and his analysis last game, and just like Joel Embiid a couple years ago, took it personal?
I think the difference between Joel and Aiden is basically Aiden. He's a guy that doesn't listen to that stuff. He blocks it out a lot. He even talks about, like, Andrew Leesis, who's on Twitter.
Yep.
He even talked about like how that guy's a troll. Like he finds those guys that attack him, like he just blocks them out. He blocks all that out. I don't think he pays
But
attention
like
to it.
Charles Barkley?
No, because I think things are always said about him, and he never even references it. Of course, being TNT and it was most recent, even Reggie was kind of going after him. I don't think it mattered. I don't think he looks at that stuff. I don't think it bothers him
See,
like
but
Joel Embiid, because Joel Embiid was always on Twitter, man. He was
true.
always trying to
Good point.
troll
Good
people.
point.
That was the way he was. Aiden just is a peaceful dude, just looking to go play basketball and go home to his family.
But maybe, again, it's not necessarily him seeking that information out. When Charles Barkley and Shaquille O'Neal are making comments about your game, which we don't see them do a bunch of. We really don't. Whenever they're playing the Suns, they're typically talking about the opposing team. It's the Warriors, so they just cream all over Steph and Clay. So I feel like if in this game his performance was the primary topic of conversation, I feel like that's something that people are going to say and his teammates are going to hear of, and they're going to bring up to him. He's not going to actively seek out the information, but information like that from people who you grew up watching, who you grew up idolizing, who you respect in theory, I feel like they're going to go and Devin Booker's like, hey, man, they were kind of talking some shit, man. Go get it. And because he came out engaged in this game, he came out with a fire lit under him. You look at DeAndre Ayton's performance in the first quarter of this game, and he's really the one who kind of set the tone early. I mean, he had 10 points on 5 of 6 shooting, also had 5 of his rebounds in that quarter, and the Suns had 23 points. I mean, that was a DA quarter right off the bat, and that's what, one, was so exciting, and 2, was great because right off the bat, after my back and forth with all the different podcasts, DA comes out and puts up a 10 and 5 in the first quarter. I'm just like, good.
Yeah. And also, it can be a conspiracy thing too, where maybe they're trying to put this out there, because I don't know how much the media is really controlled by whoever. Maybe there's coaches or something be like, hey, can you guys because all of a sudden, like, everyone's on DA's ass, right?
Monty Williams is like, listen, before the game, he's like calling up Chuck, and he's like, hey, man, listen, can you just ride DA's ass because it ain't working in practice?
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like there's so many people, like, you hear it all the time now, and so maybe it's been planted a little bit. That could be a thing. I wouldn't be surprised if it was. But yeah, let's continue to see it. I think that the biggest thing for me is if he can hold I like how he kind of holds his teammates accountable in a way on the court. Make it look real. I know Monty was talking about 2 weeks ago where he was like, he didn't feel like the refs were really giving him any calls, and like they were just missing a lot on DA. He mentioned DA himself, so maybe that was the thing too, to plant something like, hey, give DA calls, even though he still won't. But like maybe that's just like to show like, hey, DA, we still support you here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that might be a thing.
Deep conspiracy theories by the Suns Jam Session podcast. Speaking of DA, obviously, the news that came out yesterday that we all got, a nice little Thanksgiving gift, if you will. Patrick Beverley suspended for 3 games. Thoughts, Matthew?
Well, I wish he was out of the NBA. But it's kind of funny. Like, I wish I knew like the whole story of what the fuck happened, because that was such a weird situation. And like for Pat Bev to do that, and then like, of course, Book did say something about like, hey, we should just push each other in the chest and see what happens, stuff like that. That was cool. But I think just being suspended 3 games for a guy that continues to do this, it's kind of fucking crazy to me.
I think so too.
That's you would think. I was thinking like maybe 10 games or something.
Yes, exactly what I was thinking. Because again, and they said in the statement that released by the league that the reason it's 3 games is because he's a repeat offender. If he's a repeat offender, like you said, Matthew, like, make it hurt. Take 10 games away from this guy. I forget who tweeted it out, but somebody said, like, how dare the NBA, if they really wanted to punish Pat Bev and the Lakers, they would have let him continue to play because he sucks. But I'm with that. I'm with that line of thinking. When you're playing dangerously like that and you're doing those kind of things maliciously, and you're continuing to do it to the same team. I mean, he did to Chris Paul, he did to DeAndre Ayton now, and then I love how everyone's like, trying to talk shit about Devin Booker. So they're like screenshotting a perfect moment where like DA's like pushing Dennis Schroeder in the side, and they're like, oh, same thing. It's like, no, shut up. Just shut up, people. Shut the fuck up. It's not the same thing. You're not waiting till the play's over and then coming up and blindsiding them like Pat Bev has done twice. Like, there needs to be a heavier suspension to that. But you know what? Pat Bev, God, drives me crazy. Anyways, let's change it up. Let's stop talking about DA. We always talk about him. Let's stop talking about Pat Bev. We never should talk about him. Let's talk about, who should we go with?
The Warden.
Shout out to the Warden tonight. He really carried the team in the third quarter. He ended with a total of 15 points on 6 of 17 shooting, including 3 of 6 from beyond the arc. Couple rebounds, couple steals, couple assists. But it was that third quarter where he went 5 for 6 from the field, where he had 13 points, which really helped the Phoenix Suns, considering it was just kind of a choppy first half from the team. So tell me what you were thinking kind of during the first half, not only watching his 0 for 9 performance in the first half and the choppiness that the team played with, coupled with how he performed in that third quarter to kind of set the tone for Phoenix.
Well, he never usually goes like half to half to be miserable the whole game. I feel like if he starts out bad, he can kind of make up in other ways. The difference is, like, a lot of people are like, well, how come Mikal doesn't get shit for his games he has? It's because I feel like he gives a shit all the time, and he tries really hard. And if his shots aren't going in, it's just like being mad at Devin Booker if he's not making his shots. Good looks, they're not going in. It's kind of the same thing. I just think he tries hard constantly. In a game like tonight, he hits huge threes in the third, man, to carry that team, like you said, because this Detroit team would not go away, and they never really did. But, I mean, if he doesn't hit those threes and they don't get a little bit hot from three, it might have been a loss. So he's always that guy, right, that can kind of hit those corner threes.
Mm-hmm.
And the second one, too, that went in because he had 2 in a row, he, like, stepped into it. There was, like, a guy on him. I'm like, oh, like, he's actually really feeling it. And to start out 0 for 9, was it 0 for 9 or 0 for 8? It was 0 for 9.
I think it was 0 for 9, yeah.
Yeah. So to start out that way and have the balls to come out and do that, that's the difference. I feel like he keeps the play. He plays his game, and whether or not he gets his points, it's up to really just his release, just the way if he's feeling it or not. But he always has that effort there, right? He just always looks the same every game. There might be an off game here or there, but he's so consistent on the floor with his effort. So it doesn't upset me as much if he is off more than, if DA is, you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, that's a continual debate. And again, one of those things that the DA truthers constantly bring up. It's like, well, why don't you ride Bridges as hard as you ride DA? Because he has a lot of offensive bolos, where he doesn't show up at all. And he plays defense, but so does DA. Like DA, credit to DA again tonight. His defense on Bagley, like a lot of people are tweeting out, it's like, just tell DA that he's playing Bagley every night, and he'll go out there and he'll play, in a dominant fashion. Mikal gets kind of leeway, if you will, I think for a couple reasons. Obviously, the draft pick. He didn't get drafted first overall. But the other side of it is I really think that he has that likability about him, because he's not out there saying like, dude, I'm going to dominate everybody. I've been just in the lab working. He's a goofball. He's like your cousin who's just kind of the funny cousin, if you will, who's always just like, I can't wait to go to, Aunt Sia's house because I'm going to see, my cousin so-and-so, and they're going to be funny, so it's just like, it's just this different mentality. Is that good or bad? Or I don't know, but I do know that in this game, like you said, the balls that Mikal Bridges had in this game to start 0 for 9 and then come out and then just go, you know what? It's my world. I'm going to continue to just chuck up these threes, because that's what he was doing in that third quarter, man. He was just chucking the 3 ball up. He ended up going in that quarter 3 for 4 and was 5 for 7 overall. I'm sorry. I think I said 5 for 6 earlier, but 5 for 7 for 13 points. I mean, just absolutely massive to have, massive cojones for big ball Bridges.
Yeah, it's funny on this podcast. We always have the hardest time trying to find things to talk about with Mikal. I feel like I do. It's always because, like, seriously, like, that's why it's always the same thing every game. Like, it's just whether or not he made his shots. Like, it's just, you know what I mean? Sometimes defense, he might give up some plays here or there to better offensive players, but we struggle for things with him because he just goes out there and plays his game all the time. And I don't know if that's a bad thing or a good thing, but if we're looking for material, it is hard to come from Mikal, honestly.
Yeah. Well, the best content you get from Mikal are like his reactions to plays and his dance. I don't know if you saw before the game, but both him, DA, and Campaign were dancing with the fan. They're playing a song and they were just like dance. It was so cool. Like that's the kind of content you get from Mikal Bridges. It's just like the fun loving content. And again with DA, I just feel like,
DA was there.
Yeah, he was, and he was having a good time, and he was nailing it too. So it's like, we always have to remember these things. Let's see. Let's talk about Book, man.
Big Dick Booker.
It was more like, like normal sized Dick Booker tonight. 21 points, 8 of 17 shooting. He was 2 of 7 from deep. He's really seen over the past couple games his 3-point percentage falter. 3 of 7 from the free throw line being kind of the what the fuck moment. But with 7 rebounds, 5 assists in this game, had a steal and a block as well. What'd you see from Devin Booker tonight?
Sorry if I'm whispering and I'm like in the room and it's really quiet. I don't want to wake anybody up. So if it sounds terrible,
is that what people say?
Oh, someone I think Void commented and said it sounds like I'm getting my teeth pulled or something.
Oh yeah, he said that on Twitter.
Yeah,
he sounds like he's getting his teeth pulled whilst giving his half-hearted props. But Void is on point, eating crow like a legend. I love who wants turkey? I want crow. Lissy's getting his teeth pulled.
Yeah. Dude, Booker has a post breakup thing, so I kind of get the way he kind of does. There's just like a weird kind of like feeling I'm getting from him on the court, the way he looks and stuff. He just doesn't seem the same. He was up there though, like in the fourth quarter, really cheering on his team and stuff. So maybe it's not bothering him as much. But I don't know how much. I mean, I give him a few games here or there, just because the post game breakup, but our post breakup thing,
post
game. It was a post game breakup. It didn't happen probably after the game. So I give him a little bit of a leeway there. I think that he can hopefully find himself soon getting back on the other side of 30, because I don't want the average to drop at all. I want it to go sky high, man. So he needs to get back on track, dude. He's falling off a little bit.
Yeah, the post Kendall book he's going through it right now, man. And I think we have to pray for him. So. I don't have much to say. I think you said it best, Matthew. You said it best. We don't have a Josh Okogie drop yet, and I'm sorry, Jamsters. I haven't had the time to do it, but I wanted to give a shout out to Josh Okogie, especially in that second quarter. Now, overall for the game, he had 7 points. He was 2 of 4 from the field, and all those 7 points came in that second quarter. Again, a quarter in which the Suns were outscored 32-30 by the Detroit Pistons. Devin Booker had 9 in that quarter, and Josh Okogie was the second highest scorer with 7. Now, granted, he was 0 for 2 from beyond the arc, and he should never shoot a 3-pointer ever. But that being said, Josh Okogie continues to exert himself defensively. I think that the unit that they run out there with him also being out there with like Damian Lee and Duane Washington Jr., a little bit of Biyombo, I think that really is a good defensive unit that kind of can shut down the opposition, and in turn is turning into some good offensive looks for this team.
Yeah, he in a game like this, you kind of want to see him succeed because it is a lesser opponent. But I like how he's trying to get to the rim and stuff. It's pretty unique so far, and this far into the season, because you don't ever see him try. He doesn't really do too much offensively. He did a lot defensively though. There was that one though that was like the half court pass that he almost picked off and ran the other way, but it kind of dropped it. That was kind of strange, but you can tell he has a good feel defensively. It's something we're kind of still waiting for though. I mean, he's had his games. I feel like kind of the last 4 or 5, he's kind of been there. Defensively is really great. Offensively, you're seeing more. So I continue to hope that he can be like that guy. I think it was EJ said that he can be like the Gary Payton II, kind of like that kind of guy for us, like he was to the Warriors last year. So if he can become that guy, that would be huge. I don't know, because Gary Payton II, like that guy was freaking. He's a game changer, and if Okogie can be a game changer coming off the bench, it's going to be huge for the Suns going forward.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just like Damian Lee. Damian Lee has been a game changer, I think, thus far in the season for this team. If you couple that with Josh Okogie, I mean, you're really going to get a quality deep team that, again, come playoff time, I don't know if they'll necessarily need those guys. Damian Lee, I think, will have a spot in the rotation. Okogie probably won't. But to get you through a regular season, you need those guys. If you want to get a good seed, a top 4 seed in the Western Conference, you need the Okogies of the world to play the way that he has. Now, that being said, offensively, he's never going to be that guy. And if we want him to be that guy, just accept the fact that he's not. For his career, he's a 40% shooter. For his career, he's a 27.1% shooter from beyond the arc. That's just not his game. He's not that guy who can score in any stretch of our imagination. Every time he shoots the ball, you're like, oh, left, short. I mean, you could call it once it's out of his hand. So again, props to him though for, again, it was different segments of this. It was DA in the first quarter. right? It was Okogie in the second quarter with Booker. It was Mikal in the third quarter. And then it was kind of a team effort, if you will, in that fourth quarter where, again, the Phoenix Suns entered just looking to try to close out a very pesky Pistons team that down a bunch of players. No Cade Cunningham, no Jaden Ivey. Are you disappointed that you didn't really get to see kind of their whole smorgasbord of players?
Yeah, I mean, I am with any team for sure, but especially a young team where you kind of want to see Cade. I like seeing the young players kind of develop, season to season, and we only play these guys twice. And I'm not going to ever watch a Detroit Pistons game. So it's like I want to see them play the Suns. I want to see those guys in the court. Tonight, though, I mean, you had, God, what's his name? The point guard. the guy.
Killian Hayes.
Killian Hayes, yeah. You had him tonight. It's like, damn, dude. Like, there's nothing there. I just don't see it. I see nothing there, man.
Killian Hayes ended with 17 points. And 9 assists. So he had a decent game. He had 6 points in that fourth quarter. But to your point, like,
I don't see it though.
Yeah, exactly. For those who have been fans of this podcast for a while, we were really, really high on Killian Hayes during the Jalen Smith draft. And we thought that kind of, it was him and it was like Halliburton. Those are the two guys we were really hoping the Suns would take a shot at if they were going to go with a guard. And if they were going to go with a wing, we wanted Devin Vassell. And Killian Hayes obviously went really high. The Pistons took him. Hasn't really been that guy. And you know what? He continues to not really be that guy. 17-9, though, I feel like he had a lot of opportunity tonight because there was no Cade and because there's no Jaden Ivey. Like, they've already kind of moved on from Killian Hayes.
Yeah, and Mario Lopez says he was aggressive tonight, something he's always been missing, and that's true. He was very passive in the past. I think it seems like forever ago when he was drafted, and I hope he can kind of break out of that because there is potential there. There is. I want to see it where he's kind of a game changer like we kind of thought he might be, but I don't see it yet.
You could say that for the entire Detroit lineup, really.
True.
Brunis 92 in the chat says reminds me of our old French point guard. Matthew, do you remember our old French point guard's name?
Yeah, Josh Okogie, right?
Ellie Okogie.
Ellie Akon. Is it Okogie? Ellie Okogie?
No, Ellie Okobo.
Okobo.
Marvin Bagley's the same thing. He's one of those guys who it's like you hope for the best for this guy. He was 6 for 12 in this game, including 1 for 1 from beyond the arc, which Eddie noted was like he's 14% on the year. That just goes to show you that the team that was they're like one of the worst teams in the NBA when it comes to 3-point shooting. If you look at their first half, they shot 50% from beyond the arc. But he also had 13 points and 12 rebounds in this game. A steal, a block, a solid game, 7 offensive boards for Marvin Bagley tonight. So again, it's just another player much akin to Killian Hayes. It's like you hope for the best. You hope they do well. Like I want Bagley to do well.
Yeah, especially with Detroit too. I'm glad like he's kind of gone from San Francisco and they got rid of the stench and now they're doing good. The thing is like when you're watching Bagley, you kind of see the effort on his side. You're like, damn, dude, like that's worse than what we see from Ayton most of the time. I know he had the 7 rebounds or whatever, but like a lot of it is just kind of standing there too. So if he can find himself and stay healthy, dude, he can still be a decent player. It's just mentally, man, to overcome what happened to him, that's gonna be the toughest part. Yeah, he's kind of fallen off side. And everyone thinks he's a joke. You know what I mean? I don't, but it's just like that's the way everyone thinks of him. So hopefully he can overcome that, man. I really want to see him kind of become a good role player. Okay.
What's that?
Oh yeah.
What?
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, I'm done.
No, I'm done.
I got extra cheeks, dude, from Thanksgiving, man.
It's the gravy. The gravy is always the best part. You look at the Pistons, and they're a team that obviously I think they're last in the Eastern Conference, if not they're second to last, but I'm pretty sure they're last. They're a team that's constantly rebuilding. They have a lot of young assets. They got some quality players, but I think one of their challenges, and one reason they're never going to get where they want to go, when you have Kevin Knox, Nerlens Noel, and Alec Burks as your bench, and they're pretty much just all Knicks scraps, you're pretty much fucked, right?
Yeah. I mean, you saw it. I mean, but Burks actually had a decent, first quarter or so.
I think he ended with 17 is what he ended with?
Yeah,
I 17 for him.
He had like a 10 quick points.
It's all
But yeah,
for the
when
free
those
throw
names are
line.
out there, that's the sucky part is when you let those guys hang around. You're like, damn, dude, like what are we doing? And then not even know Noel was still in the league. Like that's the bad part.
I didn't know that Kevin Knox and all of his forehead was in Detroit. I thought he was still in Atlanta or
dude.
something. You could show a movie on that
Oh
thing.
man, his forehead's still probably back in New York though, dude. Sorry, that's not very nice. He's a good looking dude.
Okay, yeah, you don't have to lie. I mean, you just don't have to talk shit. Let's see. Who else did I want to talk about before we carry on? Oh, real quick, just a real quick one. They slipped this one in there. I wanted to get your thoughts on Mr. Torrey Craig.
Craig, I wouldn't feel comfortable lending you $200 without a job.
He's a vegan now. Vegan, and now he's playing well. Like, holy shit.
Dude, that pissed me off when I saw that.
Why?
Because I think Biombo is too. Because Biombo was saying, because they were asking like the Thanksgiving thing, like, what do you like to eat for Thanksgiving? And he said turkey when I used to be able to eat turkey. So I'm like, oh my God, like maybe it's a religious thing, maybe it's a different religion, but maybe it's being vegan. Like, seriously, like if we lose in the playoffs due to just lack of having the strength,
Nutrition,
the battle against these beasts, like it's gonna be because they're not eating meat. Like if you guys want to go down the path, go ahead. But if everyone's gonna turn vegan and we don't have the strength to get through one series, I'm done with this team until they start eating some fucking meat.
I mean, but he's been effective though. Like that's the thing.
Yeah, for now. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I am wrong. Like I know anything about that shit.
No, neither of us are vegan, and I feel like shit every day.
Yes.
So I don't know. The Suns Jam Session subreddit stakeout. So what we like to do from time to time is we like to hang out on the opposition's subreddit during the game. Just hear what they're saying. Matthew, what were they saying?
Yeah, so I was over there. And there's just crickets, dude. No one was on there. There's not even a page. So
You're a liar.
And I didn't do it. All I had was my phone to watch the game on. There's no way I could do the subreddit. That's all I had.
Well, I've pulled it up in another window, so I have some highlights that I can bring up for the Jamsters, because I know that the Jamsters, like Alberto Sauce in the chat, he says love this segment. It's like we can't disappoint the Jamsters by not having a subreddit stakeout. So here's one. It says, holy fuck, both of the Phoenix announcers are such pieces of shit. Replay after replay, no contact, nobody touched him. I agree with the referees. Replay after replay showing Craig stepping on Bogey's ankles. No contact, no contact. Fuck them corny assholes. Corny ass assholes.
That was annoying though.
That was annoying. They were way wrong.
Like, dude, he's stepping, his foot went sideways.
Clearly.
Yeah.
Like no contact.
Yeah, that was.
So for those of you who didn't watch the game, the very end of the game, there was a play in which Bogan, whichever, one of the Bogdanoviches, who's no longer a trade target for the Phoenix Suns. Shams is just telling me that in my other ear after he twisted the shit out of his knee. But Torrey Craig came down on his ankle, twisted his knee. Everyone came out and they were livid at it. And then Eddie and K-Ray are just like. They're just like no contact. What it looks like a non-contact injury. Like you don't see him like he stomped on his ankle and he was trying to move and it twisted it.
Yeah, I couldn't believe
way
it.
Off.
I was like squinting on my phone. I'm like, wait, I'm pretty sure that's like a foot on top of his foot. I'm pretty sure that's Torrey Craig that stepped on him.
It was, and he's not a light man. No. So again, they were going off on the subreddit on the Detroit Pistons subreddit. Suns announcers can get fucked. Man, who are these cunts? Wow, they are really. Suns commentary is horrible. Why is everybody who's a Pistons fan watching the Suns feed? That's my question. Or maybe it's because we go on their subreddit.
Maybe. And then why is everyone using the C word so much, dude? Wasn't there like a banned thing? Like
it was.
Like we've used it, like the Aussie podcast uses it, and like everyone just says it.
Well, I know, like when we're talking about the Aussies, it's kind of, it's part of the lexicon down in Australia. Like, yeah, you cunt, and it's something that's like if you yell it at a woman, I mean, it's you're gonna hit a nerve, right? It's like when I took that spinal injection to hit that nerve, and I was just like, oh motherfucker. It's the same thing. Like you just don't do that, but for some reason, it's like like I like the word twat way more than I do cunt, but whatever. This just cut this segment out. We'll do. Oh, this is live. Here's another comment from them, and we haven't talked about Bogdog. We haven't talked about Bogdanovich yet on the podcast, who, by the way, ended up having kind of a really bad shooting night. He was 9 for 21, 19 points, 3 assists, 4 rebounds. But somebody noted that Bogey either shoots or turns the ball over if he touches it with under 5 minutes left in the fourth every fucking game. Ouch.
Yeah, when he went down, I'm like, oh, this is like their best player, though, dude.
Yeah.
Like, he's the only one really left. And he's always a Suns killer, though, man. Every time we play against this dude, he's always hitting big shots.
Yes, massive.
So
ones.
I was still scared of him because it always happens against the Suns, man.
And Crazy Luigi, thank you in the chat. You said it's Bojan Bogdanovich.
What were you saying, Bodog?
Well, you have Bogdan.
Bogdog?
Bogdanovich plays for the Atlanta Falcons or the Buffalo Bills, one of the two. Here's another one, and tell me if there was any merit to this, because were you hanging out on Sun's Twitter at all, or you were streaming it on your phone?
No,
right?
I just have my phone sideways laying next to me, dude.
Adorable. Well, I was on Sun's Twitter pretty much the entire night, and somebody said in the Detroit Pistons subreddit, Suns fans erupting at the sight of probably slipping out a win versus a 5-15 team down 4 starters. I don't know if anybody was erupting. We're like, yeah, man, we're winning the championship, man. We beat the Pistons, man. Or it's like, okay, good.
I hate that because like even like the Lakers fans when we beat the Lakers, like, oh, good job being a G League team. It's like, dude, we still just won. Who cares?
It's like,
we can't talk about being a team.
Oh, should I be upset because my team my team won? I guess I should be mad. Like, fuck,
yeah.
You guys can fuck right off. So
we were mad at Ayton, but that's about it. Just joking, dude. I'm joking.
The Suns Jam Session subreddit stakeout.
There you go, Jamsters. There you go. Whoa, Matthew was really close on that one. We got some nose hairs on that one. Good God in heaven. Oh, let's change the subject real quick.
Jam star of the game.
All right, Jamsters. Here's your opportunity to go ahead and 1, like, 2, follow, 3, subscribe, 4, become an elite Jamster, and 5, in the chat, let us know who your Jam star of the game was. Matthew, this one's easy. It's DA, man. He came out aggressive in the first quarter. Monty, for some reason, sat him for 6 fucking minutes in the second, maybe 7. Really drove me crazy. I'm like, come on, dude. Like, the team was sputtering and struggling. I mean, when Josh Okogie is carrying your team in the second, it's like, put fucking DA back in there. Played solid in the third and then led the team in scoring in the fourth. So DA, season high, 28 points, 12 rebounds, easy one for me.
Yeah, I want to go DA, dude. DA, just like, yeah, there you go. Harry Pat Phoenix.
By Harry Pat Phoenix, he thinks DA. Albert H says DA. Sony says no Haboob tonight. Yeah, I didn't play his drop. I don't think I'm going to. Crazy Luigi, either DeAndre Ayton, Devin Booker, Cameron Payne, get it for me. Dickie Donkey, Ayton. DA for Scott Lacey. We also have DA from Sonia. DA from Fabio, DA from Mario Lopez, the district attorney, DA from John Doe, Okogie from the Coda Kid, one of our elite Jamsters. Yeah, I mean, it's got to be DA. It's got to be DA. Legend DA for show.
The
DA.
district attorney, I love that.
The district attorney. Let's use that.
How threatening is that?
Oh my God. Well, I'm gonna let So Says Jay know that one. It's like DA, the district attorney. Deal with it. Sustained. Yeah, I mean, great job by DeAndre Ayton, obviously, for showing up, showing out, being the guy that we needed him to be. Of course, it comes on the eve or the day after where I had time. We were sitting around, watching some Cowboys games like multiple games, watching the Cowboys play. And I was just like, you know what? I got nothing to talk about. And fucking let's start a war. Let's start a war with other podcasts. I've been watching Lord of the Rings. For some reason, like I watched all 3 of them in the last week, so I was just like, I needed the kings of Gondor to go against the Rohan. Let's fight about DeAndre Ayton, the district attorney. Mateo Bentoncourt in the chat. Will DA continue to play this way? Well,
nope.
If you follow the trend, nope.
I saw that movie. Nope.
Nope. Next up for the Phoenix Suns, obviously they play tomorrow night. They play against The Utah Jazz, a team in which they lost just by 1 point last week. No Mike Conley in this game. He is expected to be out. He's a knee strain, so he had a good game against the Phoenix Suns last game. Again, this is a team that shoots the 4th most three-pointers in the league. They make the 4th most three-pointers and have a 37.4% clip. So a team that's definitely going to hit you there. A team that also allows you to shoot the 3 ball. They give up the 3rd most three-point attempts in the league. So, looking at tomorrow night's game, Matthew, you're expecting a shootout.
Yeah, I think so. Again, I feel like we can expect some of the same as last game, but I want to see DA kind of really take over too in that game again, to maybe slow the game down. I mean, I think that would help the Suns team a lot, because I feel like you can kind of see tonight where I feel like some of the guys were missing, like Shamet and Cameron Johnson and Chris Paul. Like, it's kind of coming into effect a little bit. It seems like they're kind of getting a little bit tired, especially back to back. So let's see if DA can do it again. I'm excited because they're wearing the sunbursts, so that'd be fun. I kind of wish Utah would wear their 90s, but they can't. So they'll probably be wearing
purple.
They'll probably be wearing those bright
yellow ones.
Yeah, the highlighter ones. So we'll see how that looks on the court.
Well, for the Phoenix Suns, you got to understand that Utah, they are also playing tonight. They're about to lose to the Golden State Warriors. The only way they beat us last time is Lauri Markkanen literally had a career game against us, and we lost by 1 point. And we're at home. This team is the best home team in the league. I think they're 10-1 now, 9-1 or 10-1. So the Phoenix Suns, they own the home court. It's going to be a fun game to watch. As you mentioned, we get to see those sexy sunbursts again. So anytime that happens, it's going to be a good game. So what time's that one kick off at? It's 7 p.m. Arizona time, I assume?
Yeah, I think it's 7. So I don't know what time you get home, but I fly in at 9, so I'll probably be home just in time for maybe the last 2 minutes.
Gotcha. Should I reach out to some of our cohorts and see if they want to contribute?
Yeah, and the DA can have a crappy game. We can all fight about it.
There we go. Hey, I love it. Maybe I should reach out to the Aussie Suns fans, see if they want to come in and host it with me, and we can just talk about DA for an hour. Maybe I'll actually do that. I'll hit up Gavin or Boyd, if you're listening or watching, DM me or I'll DM you. But that being said, I'll be driving all day tomorrow, so I'll get home probably right in time for the game to start, I guess. And then I can sit down and just watch the game, do the pod, and then just go to freaking sleep. It's 12 hours on the road again tomorrow.
Dude, so people keep asking about Jock too in the chat.
Yeah,
and I feel like last
spot
point. They did too, but we keep forgetting about it.
Yeah, let's go ahead and throw his drop out there and talk about it.
Jesus, this is a nice limo.
Yes, it is. Now suck my
Jack Landale.
3rd consecutive game that Monty Williams has chosen to go with Bismack Biyombo over Jock Landale. The question everybody's asking, Matthew, why?
Well, I love Bismack, and I feel like he's doing a tremendous job. But it is strange because we've seen such a good, consistent play from Jock. He went through a slower stretch, but I thought he kind of got it back. I thought the last few games before he got benched and hasn't played, he was playing good. Ever since that one interview he had where he was wearing that dirty Yankees hat or whatever, then he hasn't come back. So I don't know if there's something off the court that happened. Maybe there's a whole lot of harassment stuff. Maybe it's that. I don't know why I even said that because that's terrible to say.
It's not even true. Not even close.
Yeah, well, I didn't say what. It's just harassment.
That was fake news.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the fact that he's 3 of 26 from beyond the arc this season.
But he doesn't shoot it as much though anymore.
He still shoots it. Monty Williams is probably like, dude, fucking stop. He's like, Jock, before you go in the game, no fucking threes. He's like, oh, I'm gonna be wide open, you cunt. And he's like, no fucking threes. He's like, I'm gonna fucking shoot it anyways. I'll show you. And then he'll do it. And then he's like, you're out. I think it's a couple things. Again, I think that, one, I think Bismack. How many games did we not see Bismack? And what we're doing on the pod? Where's Bismack?
Yeah, exactly.
2, that with Bismack, you're going to get some defensive shot blocking. Although Jock can do the same thing. I feel like Jock obviously brings a little bit more offense to you, but I feel like it's more of a matchup thing. I feel like it's more of a matchup thing. So we'll see moving forward. There's peaks and valleys, there's lulls, there's all kinds of things throughout a season that a coach has to manage. And the big thing and the challenges that you have in the NBA with as many players as you have, even when you're injured, like the Phoenix Suns are, is you have to keep the team engaged. So what you do is you run a couple of weeks with Bismack. You run a couple of weeks with Jock. You let them kind of stay engaged here and there as you navigate the long and winding road that is an NBA season.
Yeah, I don't really care who's on the court either. As long as we're just getting the wins, obviously that matters. I mean, we're number 1 in the West, which is really fucking weird. It's been such a weird up and down season.
And we're still number 1.
Yeah, and if like these guys keep missing games, it's fine as long as there's nothing like serious. They even brought up Saric too. It's like if Saric doesn't play for a month and comes back, it's cool as long as we're winning games, dude. I'm fine with it.
Well, and the same thing. I'll bring it back to DA. The same thing goes with DA. You know, as long as we're winning games, it's okay for him to have a lackadaisical kind of some of those games where it's like, dude, what the fuck? Because we're winning. It's when we start losing that hammer really will come down. And you think this, you know, remember this, Suns fans. For those of you who are massive DA supporters and blindly are massive DA supporters, I like to think I'm an equal opportunity asshole. Like I'll look at everything and I'll take the information, and based on the information, I'm going to make my decisions, right? I'm not just going to go like, well, I like DA, therefore everything he does is great, or I hate DA, or for everything he does sucks. Like you have to take it all in, let it swirl around in your head a little bit, and make an opinion based off of everything that you see. If the Suns were losing games, everyone would be pointing to DA. Fucking everybody. Because of the money he's making and the lack of effort he gives sometimes. And guess what? Tonight we're winning games, and he had a great game. So we should give him praise when he's earned it, and he definitely earned it tonight. So we'll see moving forward what he does. We'll see what the rotation looks like behind him and what Monty does. But you have to see everything holistically, in my personal and humblest of opinions, Matthew.
Well, the only thing was with DA, man. It's like, yeah, I get that. Like if we're winning, but that's an exception for me, is where I think that he needs to really work on his offense. And of course, like EJ said, he should be leading the league in rebound. That's fine. But I'm just saying, if we're gonna end up, if someone could just tell me, come out and say, hey, DA, we're not relying on him for offense. Like we're not even gonna worry about it this year, then I'll be fine. But if we are, and we're gonna rely on it later in the future, they need to start working on something now and keep working on it. That way he can be that guy. If we have these games where he's just like non-existent, it's going to hurt us in the long run, I feel like. Still.
No, I completely agree. You know, because again, we have to be looking not only for this season, but for seasons moving forward. And we want to see those instances like tonight where it's like DA can control a game. We need more DA games, because guess what? In a season or two, we're going to have to rely on those almost extensively, knowing that it's going to be him and Booker carrying this team, because you're going to have other people who are just not going to have the ability to do so. Mario Lopez asks in the chat, he goes, has Duane Washington done enough to get minutes over Landry Shamet, Matthew?
I really love Shamet this year. And I know he's had some 0-4 games, but I think he's doing a lot with that second unit that Duane can't do. Especially there's even some playmaking stuff he's doing. Washington's still having a hard time with that. Mm-hmm. I think we've had some really good scoring games from Washington, but I think Shamet, and especially how much money he's making, he needs to get those minutes over Washington for now.
I think Washington allows Landry Shamet to take as long as he wants to get back from this concussion protocol. Yeah. Having a player like him who can put up points effectively is allowing this team, much akin to Chris Paul, is allowing them to get the rest necessary so they can come back at full strength, not 80%, not 90%, but 100%. When Landry Shamet's back, I think Duane Washington falls back into his role and he becomes a mop-up guy. Guess what? There's 15 guys on this team. Not all of them can get substantial minutes every night. So you can appreciate the effort that he brings in, night out, and we do. Duane Washington has been fantastic. Him and Damian Lee have been two huge pickups for the Phoenix Suns. But when the time comes, you have to your point, Matthew, you're paying Landry Shamet a certain amount of money for services that need to be rendered, and you need to allow him the opportunity to render those services, in my opinion. I agree with you. I think that what he's doing from a playmaking standpoint has been plus this season. From a shooting standpoint, I still feel like there's a lot of opportunity for growth in that capacity, but he has the ability to do so. We've seen stints of that throughout the beginning of the season in the games that he's played.
Yeah, and Mateo Benacourt says, I don't know about the playmaking. It's true. It's nothing like great, but there's just instances where it's not even huge. It's just like he finds the right guy, like the 0.5 offense. 0.5 offense is
he's moving the ball.
moving the freaking ball, dude. He's really good. And it sounds stupid and lame, but a lot of these guys can't even do that. So the fact that he can, and he seems like a good Monty guy right now, he's playing his game that he should have played last year. So
agreed. And if you go and you look at like his assist totals, it's not like he's going to have a ton of assist totals, but he's got a lot of those hockey assists. Because to your point, Matthew, like he's moving the ball around the perimeter, he's driving and he's kicking to the perimeter. They're making that extra pass to a wide open person, and because Landry Shamet was driving to the paint, a defender collapsed, and it, again, if they were counting hockey assists, I bet you Landry Shamet would have some good numbers relative to that statistic.
Me too.
Well, I think on that note, Jamsters, I got to go to bed. I got to hit the road tomorrow, so I got to get some sleep. Matthew, I think he's finally starting to wake up, so he's pissed now because now he's going to be up all night. But we thank you ever so much for hanging out with us after another Phoenix Suns game. You have a lot of choices. You have a lot of Suns podcasts out there to listen to. Our good friends, Fanning the Flames, our good friends, the Aussie Suns fan podcast. Go check them out when you can. But thanks for hanging out with the original Phoenix Suns post-game podcast, the Suns Jam Session. So make sure you follow me on Twitter at Darth Voida. Read my writing at thebrightsideofthesun.com. You can follow Matthew on Twitter.
Not bad, bitch.
And you can follow the pod at Suns Jam on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Make sure you subscribe, rate, review, hit that thumbs up button down below. We appreciate it. And we will see you tomorrow. I will be back in Phoenix tomorrow after a long, long drive. So wish me well. I will see you then.
Yeah, go home and love your family.
Dunzo.